Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time. My name is Pascaline Kelechi. I am a master's student studying here at the University of Glasgow, here in Glasgow in the UK, and I've gotten so many messages on Instagram and like several on like YouTube here in the comment section asking me how to get accommodation. And there are so many videos saying this is how you get accommodation, but there's like an accommodation crisis in Glasgow. And if you are in Glasgow or you're coming to Glasgow, you probably already know this, and that's why you clicked on this video. So in this video, I'm going to be giving you 10 tips on how you can beat this accommodation crisis and get an accommodation in the midst of all the crisis. So get a pen and paper and get ready, because like it's a whole lot. Number one tip is that you have to start early. The people who get accommodation in Glasgow the first time they land in Glasgow started checking for accommodations right like the year ahead. So basically now like student accommodations in Glasgow are filled up from like November of last year, and we're in like July now. So like you need to start applying early. If you're watching this video and you're like thinking of coming to Glasgow in like 2024, start applying for accommodation like right in like September or even August. Like start, especially if you want to stay in like student accommodation. If you don't want to stay in student accommodation, then that brings me to tip number 2, which is to expand your search. You may not want to live in student accommodation. Student accommodation is good because they are owned by companies and you don't even need to like bother about how they look on the inside, because they usually look the same, and you can usually get virtual tours anyway, and you can see reviews on the internet and like lots of stuff that you cannot see for private flats. So you can expand your search to look for private flats or like shared apartments and flat shares, and even expand your search to like outside the city. For example, if you want to look for accommodation in the city right now, you may not get an accommodation, but if you try like neighboring places, even within Glasgow, that are not very far from the university but like still not close, you may be able to get an accommodation there. So expand your search like outside the city center, or like slightly just like expand your search, you would be able to get an accommodation. And this doesn't have to be like a permanent accommodation. It brings me to tip number 3, that you can find a temporary space while you come to Glasgow. So they can have like short-term like leases where you can stay for like a few months, like 3 months, like 4 months, or like 5 months. It doesn't have to necessarily be like a whole year lease. And I know people that came to Glasgow and have lived in like 4 different flats simply because they found like a temporary flat, and then the next time they move to another temporary flat. So if you don't have family and you're not like moving kids around, especially if it's like school wise, because I think like for school it has to be like the school closest to you. I'm not exactly sure, I don't have kids, so I don't know. So if you're like a single student, then this is really easy because you can easily move from like one flat to another. If you live for like a month in a flat and you find somewhere else that's better or cheaper, then you definitely can move to that flat. The 4th tip is to use online resources. There are so many apps and so many websites that you can check, and I'm going to be listing all these on the screen here, and you'll see them in the description box. So there's Spareroom, there's CityLet, there's Rightmove, there's OpenRent, there is Gumtree, there is Zoopla, and basically you can also Google, just basically say private houses in Glasgow just on Google, and then you see private companies or private letting agencies that can help you find an accommodation. So you can do all of this. So using all these resources, there are several others, and if they're like more, I can like add them as well. I'll find more. They are definitely much more. these apps will require like different ways to like open your account or like stuff like that. I know on Spareroom you get to create your account and then post an ad as somebody looking for a flat, and then like the flat owners or like people sharing flats with you, but people who basically have a flat and need someone, will look at your profile and read like your budget and like how you are, if you're a smoker, if you're not, if you have pets, and then they can message you and say, oh yeah, I have a flat, could we meet to like get to know each other and see if we can live together, and just like stuff like that. And there are others where you can like find landlords or like just different options, but like use the internet to like, you have basically searched everywhere before you let it go, because we have to beat the accommodation crisis. The fifth tip is connecting with other students. So this can be connecting with past students, connecting with current students, or connecting with prospective students like yourself. So check that your university has like a WhatsApp group or a Telegram group or like a mailing group or something like that, and then you can message like current students. Basically just go to LinkedIn and like search University of Glasgow, and then you see all the students. I've gotten so many people come to LinkedIn and ask me for like accommodation advice, and this is literally the advice I give them anyway, so I'm still giving you guys the same advice. But like, find people, and then also come on YouTube. On my last video, 2 people or like 3 people found each other, and then they connected like on Instagram. So basically those 2 people, if they need to come together to find an accommodation, that will be much more easier, because one person is looking on one hand and the other person is looking on the other hand, and if they do find an accommodation, then that will be helpful. Also, you can ask, say, current students or even past students if they know people who are also looking for flatmates or people who need someone to pair. So when I first came to Glasgow, I was able to connect my friend with some random person I never knew, and they were able to share a flat. So it's just like, find people, send messages, just make effort and like approach people. Not everyone is willing to help, that is true, but like, people have like lots of things going on, like loads of stuff to do. So, but if you want to be able to beat this, especially if you don't have family, please note that all these tips are for my experience, and I am a single student, so this would mostly work for single students. I really don't know how it works for like couples or like people with family. I'm not exactly sure, but like, these tips will work if you are a single student. Next tip is to attend the university fairs. So I do know that for the University of Glasgow, like, the recruiters organize fairs at, say, like a city in the country before people even travel. So like, when I did come to Glasgow, I was not able to attend the fair, but there was like a meetup where all the prospective students actually came together, and I believe that would be a great avenue if you have that in your city, or somewhere that is close to you and you can attend to like meet people and then discuss like the issues you're facing, especially if you're facing accommodation issues. And really, nothing is impossible. You can find help literally from just like meeting people, but like, those connections, even when you do come here, you can just call and say, oh yeah, I'm also here in Glasgow, and or I'm like coming to Glasgow in a few weeks and I still haven't found accommodation, like, what assistance can you give me, and like stuff like that. This is on a personal basis. I don't think it would be reasonable or fair to like ask somebody you don't know to go do a viewing for you. But if it's someone you do know, then you can do that. The next tip, which is the 6th tip, is that you should be flexible with your requirements. So you may want to live in an ensuite, and you are not finding an ensuite, you're finding a flat share, and you may want to like share with like 2 people, and you're seeing like a shared flat with like 3 or 4 people. So you should be flexible with your requirements, especially if it is like really important that you get an accommodation, if it's like an urgent need. So if it's not urgent, then you can still keep searching for like the ones that you would find. But because we're trying to beat this crisis, a place over your head is better than none, especially when you do come here. You don't know anybody, and it's like a new country, especially if you're an international student. I get like the dilemma of like coming here and having no place to stay, and having to like stay in an Airbnb, which is so expensive. The 7th tip is to join social media groups. So using Twitter can be a good way to find accommodation. Using Facebook is like the best social media app to get accommodation, because literally go on Facebook and search Glasgow house, Glasgow flat, all those groups you see, join all of them, and then you would see like different adverts for like different flats. But make sure that you are not so desperate to the extent that you get scammed, because Facebook Marketplace, anything Facebook, is a great way for people to scam other people. So make sure that even when you are seeing all these ads and like contacting people, you're not sending money to people you don't know, and you are like asking questions to verify that these are actual legitimate flat owners, so like landlords or like people who are living in flats. But Facebook is a great place to find accommodation. Many people have found through Facebook, and it's like really good, but people can also get scammed there, so you have to be very careful. The 8th tip is that you seek advice from the university. So whichever university that you are going to, it could be Strathclyde or Glasgow Caledonian or University of Glasgow, send emails or call the university to ask for like resources. Another tip is that even when you do come to Glasgow, you can go to the student building at the accommodation building. You can go there and then tell them that you don't have a place, and if there is any space that someone leaves. So basically, once the new academic year starts, there are different things that could happen. Some people will not get visas, some people will find better flats, and they would leave those accommodations. So make sure that you are joining the wait list for both the university's accommodation and other private accommodations. Even if it's filled up, join the wait list, because you never know, like someone might leave and then they would like check the wait list for who's next that can get the accommodation. So I know somebody that went to university, and then after like a few days they called back and said, oh yeah, someone has left the flat, so there's space for you. So you can do that. Don't give up, like don't completely give up, because there are many ways that you can beat this crisis. The 9th tip is that you should be prepared and organized. Make sure that all your documents, you have them ready, or like all the information that is required from your landlord to know that you are actually serious about getting the place or renting the flat, or like anywhere. If there's a deadline and they send you an email saying confirm your space, don't let it linger. Immediately it is sent, respond. If documents are required, get those documents, prepare your references, and just like be ready, so that your landlord knows that okay, they are ready, and they don't give it out because someone else was better prepared than you. And if there's like deposits that are needed, have it at hand. So I don't know if I mentioned 10 or 9, but these are the tips that I have. Accommodation in Glasgow is like a big thing at the moment, and there are several resources. If you're from the University of Glasgow, there will be videos in description box for accommodation options for students on the University of Glasgow's channel. I'll put the link in the description box so you can go watch it. Watch any video that says accommodation, literally just like keep watching, because you will get so much information from them, and like different like ideas on like where you can live, how you can live, and just get an idea about everything. So I hope that you found this video helpful. Make sure that you like this video, share it with your friends. Also make sure that you are subscribed to my channel, and also let me know what other videos you would like me to make for you guys. If you want to see the tour of my current accommodation, that video will be in the description box, and I'll link it in the cards up here. So make sure that you check that out. You will just see how a student accommodation, this is a private student accommodation, so you just get a feel of how it looks like. And if by any chance you get a space here, or you've booked your accommodation here at car park, then it will give you an idea of where you'll be living for the next 12 months or 11 months when you're arriving in Glasgow. I wish you the best, and I'll see you guys in another video. Bye.